Hi, I'm Rita. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Life Worth Reading. And welcome to a new reading vlog. This reading vlog will be a TBR Destruction project episode. This is the 4th episode that I'm going to be doing. And I am doing this because I have an emergency. And the emergency is that my TBR is once again kind of out of control. This month, I went to Paris, which was an amazing trip. I'm so beyond thankful. But I bought 8 books. I'm gonna say 8 because the 9th book that I bought was a book that I had already read. So it was kind of like, it doesn't count. It didn't go on the TBR, okay? So I bought 8 books, which means that all the progress that we've been doing was just undermined, underdone in just that single trip. And so at the start of this vlog, we are currently on number 87 for my TBR number, which is just too much. It's a lot, it's too much. So this is an emergency vlog. And in order to achieve my goals in the fastest way possible, I am going to spend the next week, this upcoming week, reading the shortest books on my TBR. So I have 8 books here that are on the TBR, and if I manage to finish all of these books, if I manage to read all these books, we are going to be under 80 again. We are going to be on number 79, which ain't much, but it's something, okay? It is something. So that's what we are going to be trying to achieve this week. And I'm going to walk you through the TBR and tell you what books I'm going to be reading for this week-long challenge. So let's start with the first one, and the one that I think is the shortest book on my TBR, and that is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Technically, this is a reread for me. I read this book when I was in primary school the first time, and I probably reread it a couple of times when I was young. I remember most of it, but honestly, I kind of want to reread it with fresh eyes, with my adult perspective now. And I bought this Wordsworth editions, which I love very, very much. And I still have my ticket from when I bought it. And I love this edition so much. And it does have all the illustrations still. And this sits at 109 pages, but it does have the illustration, so it's probably around like 100 or a little bit less than 100 pages. And I think that this book is so great. It's so cute. It does remind me so much of my childhood and the way that it feels to be a child and all that childlike wonder that we have. So I'm really excited to reread this book, and I just hope that I love it as much as I remember it. Next up, we have Fina by Nino Cipri. This is a book that I bought in New York last year on my last trip. And that is a science fiction book, like a novella. And this sits at 134 pages. And this is about a store where I know that there's portals to other dimensions. And it's kind of like a satire following retail work, following the exploration of people who do work in retail. And I am really, really excited to get to this book. Finally, I've been saving this book for a challenge like this, and I cannot wait to finally read this. Then we have one of the most recent additions to my TBR, which is Milk Blood Heat by Daintiel W. Moniz. And this is a book, one of the books that I bought in Paris. And this is a short story collection. And I know this is just about people. A short story collection, I think the theme is just contemporary and life. I'm not really sure what the... I'm not really sure what the overall theme will be other than that. But this sits at quite literally 200 pages. So this is one of the biggest books that we have here on the TBR. But I'm really excited to get to this book. I don't know if I'm going to read it in a single day, or if I'm just going to read like a short story a day and then just like work it out through there to finish it at the end of the week. I'll see how I'm feeling the stories, if I can read a bunch of them in a row, or if I prefer to take my time with them. Then we have another science fiction book. We have Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This was kind of an impulse purchase last year. Some of my friends really love this book. I know this is about like Area X, not, I have no idea what happens in this book. I have not been spoiled, nor do I want to be spoiled, but I have absolutely no idea what happens in this book. And this book is also a little bit under 200 pages. And I just hope that I really like it, because this is a trilogy. So I hope that I like it enough to continue on in the series. But if I don't, I have no problem DNFing series. So I'll just have to see how I feel about this one. This is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I just hope that I enjoy it. Then we have Quin Zin Zin Zili by Reggie Messac. This is a French author that was born at the end of the 19th century, and he went missing during the Second World War at a concentration camp, so no one really knows what happened to this author, which is really, really sad. But I know that this story is about the end of the world, and it was written in the 30s, around the time of the New World War. And I know that this is about like half a dozen children and one adult, and it's like a post-apocalyptic story where he's just around these children and just pondering upon the end of the world and the upcoming wars. And I think that it's going to reflect a really interesting time in life. This is a Portuguese translation, and this sits at 158 pages. Then we have the Station of Shadow, or like the Season of Shadow. And this book is by an author from Cameroon who currently lives in France. So this is also a French translation. And I know this book is about a tribe. I had started reading this book one time that I brought it from the library, and then I stopped reading it, but I was really, really enjoying it. So I got a copy of my own, and now I can't wait to get back to it. It's following a tribe. There's a big fire, and we are following the consequences and the events after that. This is over 200 pages. This is 230 pages, which is a little bit steep for the challenge that I'm doing, but I think it's going to be a really interesting book, so we'll just have to see if I'm able to read it or not. Then we have a graphic novel, which is also a little bit out of my comfort zone. It seems big, but again, it is a graphic novel, and that is The Prince and the Dressmaker. This is almost 300 pages, but again, it is a graphic novel, so it'll take me about like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours even, to read this book. And I know that it really is about a prince and a dressmaker. I think it's about maybe cross-dressing and queer identity, but written in this kind of like Regency era. And I know it's very comforting, it's very cute, so I really cannot wait to read this. This was actually one of my friends let me borrow this book, so I've been meaning to read it so I can give it back to them, and I think that now is the great time to do so. And finally, we have Embers by Sandor Marai. This author, I'm forgetting. This is a Hungarian author, that's it. So this book is translated from Hungarian, and this sits at about 160 pages, a little bit less than that. And I bought this book so many years ago because this sits at 150 pages. I bought this book because I thought it was so beautiful. So I bought this like maybe when I was like 18, 19, so it was a long time ago. And I know that it's about two men who were in the war together, and now they're old, and it's like their last conversation, or they're reuniting, and just, I know it's like one big conversation between two men. So I'll just have to see, because I don't remember a lot about this book, but I'll just have to see. But this is a classic, so I'll be happy to finally have read this book. So here is my TBR for the rest of the week. Today is a Thursday. I'm not sure what book I'm going to start. I feel like I'm in the mood for the graphic novel, just to get it out of the way, but I'll have to see what I'm in the mood for. But I hope that you do enjoy this vlog, and let's destroy this fucking TBR, because I'm kind of going out of my mind, honestly. It is a new day, and I finally put in my nose ring back. I spent like a couple of weeks without it, which was really, really hard because I lost mine and I couldn't find one that was the same, but I finally did. So I'm back to being hot, and it is Friday today, and I want to tell you that yesterday you saw me reading The Prince and the Dressmaker. This took me actually no time at all. I thought it was cute. That's really all that I gotta say. It's about this girl who is a dressmaker, and she is called to the palace, like the castle, so she can make dresses for someone. She doesn't know who, and she soon discovers that it's for Prince Sebastian, who is someone who likes to cross-dress. So he likes to dress up as women, and he has his entire personality, or like persona, called Lady Chrysalia. And so it's about their journey together, and about how he's terrified that someone will find out what he is, and he's scared he won't be accepted. He's also he's not trying to, but they're making him try to find a wife. So he's meeting up with all these different princesses and nobility. And so it's honestly just about that. I thought it was really cute. I like the drawings. They're not like they're not like my favorite style or anything, but I thought that the color palettes were cute. I just had a good time. Like, I'm not really sure how to rate this. I might just not rate this, but it was really cute, and I'm glad to have finally read this one. And so today I'm about to head into my classes today. Today's Friday, but I have classes. So I'm about to head out, but I'm going to be bringing with me Milk, Blood, Heat by Dainty L.W. Moniz, who is a woman. I didn't realize that. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that, but yeah, I just read the first story. This has, let me see how many stories. So this has 11 stories, and I just read the first one, which was called Milk, Blood, Heat. I didn't love it, actually. I didn't really love it. It's about these two best friends called Kiara and Ava, and one is black and one is white, and they're both severely depressed, and it's supposed to be about how they understand each other, but honestly it's just so sad and graphic. Like, in here in the back it says, a 13-year-old girl watches her white best friend totter along the edge of a building roof. So you kind of know what ends up happening in the story, so it's not really a spoiler. I just didn't like it. I thought it was really sad and kind of depressing, so I didn't really love it, but I'm hoping that the other stories maybe pick up a little bit. It's not that I mind like horror stories or stories that aren't just happy, but I just I didn't really like this one, so I don't know how to feel about it. But we're on our way to just completing another book. I'm not going to be really hard on myself to say that I have to complete the book every single day, because some books might take me a day and a half, some other books might take me less than a day. So I'll just, by the end of the week, if I've read all of these books, and that's great, you know. So I'm not going to really like punish myself if I can't read this today. But yeah, I have my classes, and I think I'm going to have dinner with my boyfriend after, which would be really fun. But I'm going to bring this along because I am going to take the subway for a little bit, so hopefully I'll at least get another story or maybe 2 stories done if they're short. So yeah, but I hope this gets better, because I didn't really love that first story. I will see you later, and we'll see what I think of this one. Hi, are you still here? Are you still interested in this vlog? Because I haven't updated you today. It's Saturday, barely, like it's after midnight, so it's already Sunday, but we're not counting that. And I've only read 1 story today. Tomorrow I'm going to do like a full review of every single story, tell you my ratings for the stories in Milk, Blood, Heat. But yeah, I've only read 1 story. I'm currently on page 71 out of like almost 200, so I have like 130 pages to go, and I am going to finish this book tomorrow. I really will. I'm staying home all day tomorrow. I didn't today. I had plans in the afternoon, and then I had to run some errands with my mom as well, and we had a really late dinner, and we also had a little bit of TV time because we usually don't watch a lot of TV together, me and my mom, because I love just going to bed and reading. But I've been also trying to make more time for us to, you know, just spend time together. So today was kind of a day for that. Tomorrow though, I don't have any plans, so I'm just going to stay home all day, work on some university things, and then I'm just going to read. I'm also going to be doing my reading journal. Today I printed a bunch of things for my October spread and also for my Paris trip spread, which I've never done before. I'm going to try it out. I don't know if I'll like it or not, but I'm going to do like a Paris trip spread. And I printed a lot of the photos that I wanted today. I don't know if it'll be enough, but we'll just have to see tomorrow. So I'm definitely going to be doing that as well. And I am just going to be finishing this book and hopefully starting another one. And that's a guarantee, my friends. But yeah, so far I'm not loving this as much as I thought that I would. The stories are a bit sadder, darker, more depressing than I anticipated. And it's not that I don't like those types of things, just not what I was... Sorry, I'm really tired. It's not what I was expecting. That's what I want to say. I feel like the cover really does not give like the desperation that we've encountered so far. So I've been struggling a little bit with when something doesn't really meet your expectations, and I've been trying to adjust to that, honestly. I'm just going to go to sleep now, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, and I'll do like a full review of, not like every single story, I'll tell you like the highs and lows, but I will tell you my rating for every single story so we can round it up to a nice little even number. And yeah, I'm glad that I didn't tell you that I was going to read a book every single day, because I knew that wouldn't happen. I'm glad that I've been sticking to my word. Yeah, I'm glad for that, because I definitely could not be reading a book every single day. This is one of the longest books that I have, so that's something. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. since updating this vlog, which I don't exactly remember when I did, I have since finished Milk But Heat, and I have some thoughts. So I did the average. I counted what rating I gave to each story. There are 10 stories in here, and I counted the ratings that I had, and I added them up and I divided them to get an average, and the average was a 3.4. I will say it does feel like it in terms of the stories themselves. I didn't connect with them as I hoped that I would, which usually does happen to me. I do love short story collections. It's not a problem that I don't, but it is hard for short story collections to really connect with you, or for every single story to hit. And I just felt like this didn't very much. Like I've said in a previous update, I felt like the stories were a lot sadder, darker, more desperate than what it shows on the cover, which again, I don't usually mind. I just had to adjust my expectations for this book and for what each of the stories was offering to us. Like I said as well, I really didn't like the first story. I thought it was, I really couldn't connect with it. I really didn't like it, and I thought that the stories overall were a little bit underwhelming. I liked what this author did with the characters. I thought that the characters were the most vivid part of this, which does help a lot because in short story collections there's usually not a lot of plot, so you really need to care about the characters, which I feel like I did most of the time. But the themes and the stories themselves, I just didn't really love them. My favorite story was the second one, which was Feast, and this story was about someone who miscarries. So this woman loses her baby, and it's been a couple of months and she's still not over it, rightfully so. And I thought that the writing was really beautiful in this story. I really liked some of the quotes, and this was definitely my favorite story of all of them. I thought it was really, really beautiful, and it's a theme that I, even though it is quite sad and traumatic, I feel like it's an issue that I love to read about. So that one really hit a lot more than other stories. But I feel like overall I just didn't really love the plots. There was another one that I liked, which was The Hearts of Our Enemies, which is about a girl who is having an affair with her professor, and the mother finds out, and it's about how she's going to take revenge. But I just feel like the stories were interesting, but I feel like it just felt incomplete, which I know is the whole purpose of a short story collection, but sometimes it can feel so fulfilled in the short amounts that they have. But this one's just feel like you have this story about these characters in this setting and this plot, and it feels like the author, for me at least, didn't pick the right vignettes to show. Like, I wanted to see other parts of the story. Like, the story was interesting, I just didn't like what the author chose to show us as readers. I would have picked maybe different moments. I would have picked just different outcomes. It just wasn't very satisfying, I would feel like. With that being said, I did really love the writing. The writing itself was the best part of this entire book. I feel like I really want to read other things that this author has written. I have to check her backlist because the writing was just really impressive. It's very, I want to say, like, seemingly simple, right? It's not very exuberant, it's not very lyrical, but every now and then she just uses, for example, a metaphor or a comparison that I have never read, and that just makes so much sense for the sentiment that she's describing, the emotions, the setting, what the characters are going through. And I'm just like, how have I never read anything like this before? How come I've never read a metaphor like this? Or how did this author come up with something like this? For example, in that story Feast, there's a moment where she's looking at her husband, and it says here, his breath comes hard until the anger softens. And when he lets out a little whimper, a window opens, and through it, for the first time, I can sense his sadness, his jagged need. So it's like a window opens and she is able to look at her husband in a different way. And I just thought that is so ingenious. I have never thought of a metaphor like that. And it's things like this that are not very like exuberant. Again, it's not very showy, but I really, really loved this writing. So I think it is a 3.4, but for me, it feels more like a 3.5. For the stories, there are 3, but the writing is definitely a 4. I thought that the writing was absolutely amazing. So the stories themselves, a 3, but the writing was so good. So I don't know where I stand with this book. I just know that I have to read more from this author. And now, before I head to bed, I'm going to be starting Fina by Nino Cipri. I feel like I need something a little bit lighter this time. This is, it says here, a magical anti-capitalist adventure. It's about multiverses. It also has this, it explores queer relationships and queer feelings, capitalism and accountability, labor and love, all with a bouncing sense of humor and a commitment to the strange. So I definitely want to read this next. It's 130 pages. I don't know if I'll finish it tonight, but I'm definitely going to start it now. And we'll see where I end up today. But yeah, 2 books done for this little challenge. Heading into my 3rd one. Definitely not moving as fast as I wanted to, but that's fine, honestly, by me. That's really fine. So I'm going to start this one and we'll see where it takes us. Good morning. It's the next day. I stayed up, not very late, but I stayed up reading Fina by Nino Cipri. I read this in one sitting. I took a few breaks in between for, you know, that social media time. But I finished this book and I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I thought this was great, and I thought that this author achieved so much with just 130 pages. Like, this is such a short novella, but I just really liked it. We're following 2 characters. We're following Ava and Jules, and Jules is a non-binary character, and they are Ava's ex. So they've recently just finished their relationship, and now they still work together, and Jules and Ava are both trying to figure out how to act around each other, because you get a little bit of an insight into why their relationship ended, and it's very murky. It's very messy. It's not like one of them is wrong or the other one is wrong. It just didn't really work out. So they're still trying to figure out how to be together. And they are sent on this mission because one of the customers, like someone's grandma, disappears, and they don't really understand how this happened, except their manager, and they work in this like kind of IKEA store, like a fictionalized IKEA store with the same kind of layout as IKEAs do. And so their manager tells them that actually there are wormholes inside the store. So there are these fabrics in time and space that just kind of shift, and there are parallel universes in the multiverse. And so their manager tells them that Jules and Ava both have to go through this wormhole with the Fina, which is like a device, to find this person's grandma. And that's what they end up doing. They go through this different alternate universes, and I do love a multiverse story. And I thought that this was achieved what it wanted to achieve in this 130 pages, which is not a lot. I thought that this was a lot of fun. It was a little bit deeper than I thought it would be. There was a lot of heart in this, and I just really enjoyed it. I don't really know what to say. Like, it was so entertaining. it was funny at times, it was deep at others. And I feel like multiverse stories can either make or break. For example, I didn't really love The Midnight Library by Matt Haig because I thought it was too much like, you gotta make your own happiness, when sometimes, you know, there are struggles and limitations to that. But I thought that this was really well done, honestly. I had a great time. And I'm really glad that I finally read this book. And yeah, like, I just really enjoyed it. I had a great time with this. So we are 3 books down, and we have this many to go. We have 5 more books to go. 5? Yes, 5. Oh. And I'm not really sure where to go next. I don't know if I should tackle the biggest ones today. I feel like I might start the Season of Shadow because it is probably the longest one. Or I don't know if I'll even get to this one because 230 pages is a lot. So maybe I won't get to that one, but we have at least 4 others left. And Annihilation is less than 200, so this would probably be the biggest one at this moment. But I'm just not really sure where to go next. I also really want to read Quinn Zin Zin Zilly. I know that not a lot of people know this book, so a lot of people may not care about this one, but I don't know. I'm really indecisive. I'm really not sure what to start next. I feel like I might start Quinn Zin Zilly and then see how I feel about it, because I just read a science fiction, so I didn't really want to get into Annihilation next because I don't want to read science fiction from like back to back. So I feel like I might start this one and we'll just see how I feel about it. For some reason, I find it really creepy when my door is open like that. I kind of hate it, but I also do not want to get up. So we'll just have to do the update this way. And I want to update you that I'm currently on page 51 of Quinn Zin Zin Zilly, and I am just beginning part 2 now. And basically part 1 was a little bit hard to follow here. Part 2, it was very much about war. And I'm gonna be really honest, this author was name dropping so many people, and his account of how the World War II was starting were so realistic. I honestly don't know if it's real or not. I know that that is really bad to say. Like, of course I know the general, how do I say this? Like, I know how World War II started. I know most of the general knowledge about that, but he's name dropping so many people and the relationships between certain countries, like what Japan was doing, what France was doing, what the United States were doing, what Africa was doing. And I'm just like, is this real or is this not? I have no idea if this is a real account or not, but basically this author, we have a character who's called Gerard something, and he is writing this account of how he got stuck in this post-apocalyptic world with a bunch of children, right? And so he is accounting this, and he says that he doesn't really know where he is. He thinks that he might be crazy. Like, is he alone? Is it not? Like, in present time as he's writing this accounts, and he's recounting how the war started. And I just have no idea if it's real or not, which is kind of embarrassing. But in any case, it was a little bit political. It was fine to read, but I'm more interested in the part now. So obviously, if the previous part was real, this is not, because no matter how devastating World War II was, the world didn't end. And in this book, the world kind of ends as we know it. And that's where we're at in this moment. He is with he is a tutor for 2 children who are starting to have tuberculosis, and so he goes into the mountains like people used to do when people were suffering with tuberculosis, and he goes there with a bunch of other children as well and a guide. And so he's in these caves when suddenly the world kind of ends, and we're not sure what happened yet. But first of all, they've lost all communication with other countries a long time ago, so they don't know what's going on in other parts of the world either, and they're just bombarded, and he is left alone with these children. So that's the part where I'm at now. That's the part where we're starting. And so he thinks he's alone, but he can't really be sure because there's no communication with other countries or other areas. And I think that's the part that interests me the most. The first part was very political, like, so this country was doing this and this country was doing that and this person did that, and he had like actual quotes or speeches, which again just makes me think, like, is this real or is this not? Like, did Litvinov really declare this at the Central Executive Committee of the URSS? Like, did he say this? Is this real, or did this author make this up? I have absolutely no idea. But yeah, I have about 100 pages left, and I am going to finish it today. But I have to make a brief intermission to make dinner because I have to eat, and I have to cook if I want to eat, which is absolutely diabolical. But I am going to be making tofu curry. I think I really feel like having curry today. I love curry, and when I make it, it lasts me for a couple of meals. So that's what we'll be making, and we have to take a brief intermission to cook. So let's go do that. Good morning. Not really, it's afternoon now. It's Tuesday, and last night I finished, yesterday I started, and then I finished Quinn Zin Zin Zilly by Reggie Missack, and it's time for me to give you a review, right? Let's talk about this book. I have no idea where I stand on my reading for this book, quite honestly. I feel like this had a very different tone than what I was expecting. When I read that he was about to be left alone with this group of children in this post-apocalyptic world, I thought the tone would be very melancholic. I felt the tone would be very sad. I thought that he would be protecting these children, and that's really not the tone of this book at all. What we realize is that the children, because they have, as they grow up, right, they have no other contact with any other society except for him, our main character, who is not very interested in them. Like, he's just trying to survive on his own, and he's really not interested in teaching them anything. So they like kind of acquire a new language. Basically, this is just mocking. It's a satire of humanity. So everything that happens in this book is what happens when humanity is born again. So they're like in this cave, and they're like cavemen that are making up their own languages. They are learning how to hunt. They are discovering what sex is. And it's very, very mocking, right? So the tone was not what I was expecting, and I had to really adjust my expectations for this book. It was kind of like nihilistic, right? Because we have this person who has seen the peak of society, right? And then a war just makes it all go away, and we are restarting again. And here there are a bunch of children who don't even know anything about the previous world. So they can't write, they don't know anything, and they're just acting like cave people because they don't know any better. But our main character still knows what it was like to be in a civilization, right? And he knows because he studied prehistoric societies and what people think the people behaved like back in those days. And so he's just mocking them and saying like how the future of humanity will be so stupid because these children don't know anything. So the tone was very mocking, and it was a satire, and it was kind of like sad in a way. I thought it'd be a lot more melancholic, but it's really kind of like anarchist and nihilistic. So I have no idea how to feel about it, because I admired this book for what it did, and it did make me think of a couple of things about humanity and how we work, but at the same time it really wasn't what I was expecting. So I have no idea where to land on this book. I think that I liked it, but it's very confusing to me. So I have to reflect on it a little bit more. And with that book out of the way, we have another 3. So I feel like today I want to start Annihilation, because it is the biggest one. So that's a book that I'll be starting. I'm staying at home in the afternoon, and then I'm leaving, but I am going to take the train. So I'm going to read a little bit on the train as well. But I'm going to start this book. I have no idea what to expect out of it, so we'll just have to figure that out. But I'm very hopeful. And yeah, only 3 books left, so let's do this. Today is such a gloomy and awful day. It's raining so much, and I'm really upset because I have to leave for my classes. I'm so excited about my classes. I'm doing a postgraduate, like 1-year degree in cultural communication and the creative industry, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm only on my 3rd week, so it's very recent, but I'm really enjoying my classes. I'm really enjoying my professors, so it's really not a problem. Like, I chose to do this. I love studying. But it's just the feeling of having to leave your house and when it's raining and it's so gloomy, and the traffic's going to be so bad because it is raining and no one knows how to drive in the rain. So it's just that feeling of, oh, I can't believe I have to leave my house. Oof. But yeah, I have to, and I will enjoy it, but I just hate leaving my house when it's raining. I really hate it. But anyway, I want to tell you that yesterday I started reading Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I think that the point where I left off the video was me baking a cake. Like, I made some chocolate brownies, but I used almond flour because that's what I had and it was almost expiring, so I used that. So the texture is a little bit strange, but I did like them anyway. And I think that's where I left off. I honestly can't remember, but I started reading Annihilation and I'm currently on page 120. So I have about like 70 pages left, more or less. So I've read over halfway through. And how do I feel about this book? I guess maybe we should start with, what is this book? So this is a science fiction book, I think. I don't think this counts as horror. At least nothing really horrifying has happened yet. And we are following an expedition to Area X, which from my understanding, the people in this world, which is our world, like in the story, people believe that Area X is an area that the government kind of fucked up. They did some environmental damage to the specific area, and so there have been several expeditions. They say that this is the 12th expedition, but we soon learned that maybe that number is not so accurate. So there have been these expeditions where people go into this Area X to learn more about it, and we are following the perspective of a biologist. I believe she has a name, but I do not know her name, to be quite honest. So we are following 4 women. We have a biologist, our main character, and our perspective that we are following. We have a psychologist, and we have a surveyor, which I did not know what it was. It's people that are kind of like engineers, and they see if fields and floors are leveled, something like that. And then we have an anthropologist. So that's our little cast of characters, and so we are following them as they are on this expedition to Area X. Now that is all very interesting, but my problem with this book is definitely that I'm just not connecting with this main character. Sorry, my bed groans a lot. I'm just not connecting with her. She's very unlikable, but in a boring kind of way. Like, I just don't care about her. I don't know why we're following her perspective. She herself says about herself that she is uninterested in everything that is not environment, biology, animals. So she's a very boring person. I just don't care about her and her way of writing, because we're following her journal when she's there or after she's there, I'm not really sure. And the way that she's writing is also really kind of boring. So I'm enjoying the story and I'm enjoying what is going on, and it's interesting, a little bit creepy, nothing completely out of like the realm of what I thought it would be, but the way it's written, and it's really not like, I can't say that this is like a fault of the author and the author has boring writing. That's not it. Is he chose such a boring main character, and making us read her perspective sucks. She doesn't express a lot of emotion. Even when she's scared, she's just like, I am maybe a bit scared. Like, it's kind of like we're following like an AI or like a robot. Like, she does not interest me. So I'm kind of struggling with that. Like, right now it's middle of the road because I'm enjoying the book, but I'm not enjoying the perspective, and we are just following her perspective. Like, that's all there is to this book. So it's making me less interested. And yeah, like, actually I was reflecting on it when I was reflecting on the 4 books that I've already read. Like, this is the 5th book that I'm reading, and they have all been kind of like okay books. I haven't really disliked anything yet, but I also haven't really loved anything yet. But yeah, also I forgot to mention this about Quinzin Zenzili. That was my 50th book of the year. So this is number 51. And my goal for this year was 52. It was 1 book a week. And I really wanted to achieve that. And I am going to achieve that. And I'm very, very happy. So that's just another minor update that I have, I guess. Is that I have read 50 books this year, which is really, really exciting. So I'm going to keep reading this. I'll let you know when I finish my final thoughts. I don't know if I'm going to continue on with the trilogy. It depends on how this ends. Because I want to know if it ends on an interesting note, like a cliffhanger. Because if it doesn't, I might just not pick it up because it's not very interesting so far. But I'll see. It's a new day and I finished another book. I finished Annihilation last night. I've just realized that this vlog actually isn't going as well as I thought it was. This was a 3-star. And let me explain. How do I explain? I just didn't really like it. I guess that's all that I have to say. I just, like I said, I thought that the world, this Area X, was interesting. There was kind of like something that happened towards the end, or like an element was introduced that I find super creepy, something that I'm really into when it appears in stories like this, but it just wasn't well explored. I did not like our main character. I didn't like her point of view. I didn't really get the horror. I was never really horrified. I didn't really understand what was going on. And the problem was, like, this is a trilogy, right? Actually, the 4th book is coming out this year, but overall, this was... Sorry, I got a text. Okay, it's spam. This is a trilogy, or a quartet, or whatever. But I read the synopsis for the 2nd book. And we do not continue the story of this book at all. We're in a different place with a different character. And I feel like we will never get back to where we were here. And this does not feel finished to me. I didn't understand it. I want more. I want to get what happened here. And I just don't. And I thought most of it was... I thought that the story... And it's one of those things where, like... This is obviously a personal opinion. I didn't write the story. I could never write the story. I'm not saying that I could write better than this author. It's just that it's that thing of when you're reading and you feel like the story has so much potential, and you just feel like you would have chosen to explore such different aspects than what the author explored. Like, I wanted to know more about this and that, and the author just explored other things instead that I didn't care about as much, with a character that I did not care about as much. And yeah, it just felt really like unfinished. It wasn't scary. Yeah, I was just kind of like meh, honestly. And if I read the synopsis and it continued the story of this character in this area, in this moment in time, I would definitely continue on, because I am interested to see how this ends or continues. But I don't think that it does. Like, I don't think that we get back to this character. Maybe in the new book that's coming out this year, but I don't feel like we get back to where we were here. And to me, that's such a mistake, because I don't know what I want to know, like, what happened here. So yeah, this is definitely like a 3-star. It had so much potential, but I feel like the author and I just did not align in what we find interesting about this area and what we think would make an interesting plot. We kind of went our separate ways there. So this was a 3, and today's Thursday. I cannot remember for the life of me which day I started this vlog. I think maybe it was Thursday. I honestly have no clue already, but I am going to try my hardest to finish both of these books today, because they're both quite short. I think I'm going to start with Embers, which actually will be my 52nd book of the year, which is my Goodreads goal. And then I'm just going to try to read as much as I can of this, like in this morning and this afternoon. And then I want to go into The Little Prince, probably like at night. Or maybe I'll just do it backwards, like, I don't know. But I want to read both of these books today so we can wrap up the vlog. This will be the... God, where am I right now? That was the 5th book, 6th and 7th book of this vlog. And then we can wrap it up and bask in the glory of having another 7 books read from my physical TBR. I have high hopes for this. I know that I'll give this a good rating. I hope that I'm going to give this a good rating, because we're kind of in the 3-star, 3.5 star for the last couple of books. Like, Fina was probably my favorite so far, and that was a 4. So we'll just have to see how this one goes, but I am ready to wrap this up. Boy, do I have the update for all of you. Yesterday, I was so deep in the trenches. Like, so deep in the trenches. Basically, I had dinner, I was relaxing, I was living my best life, and suddenly I get an email from YouTube saying that they have found severe violations of some of their guidelines, and so they have deleted my YouTube channel. Yeah, YouTube just fucking deleted my whole YouTube channel, and the guidelines that I was apparently in violation of were scamming people, spam, and deceptive practices. So they thought that I was scamming all of you. The few of you that watch my videos, they thought I was scamming you, and that I was asking for money or promising to give you money. I don't know what happened. I had a complete mental breakdown over this. Honestly, I cried so much. Like, I just entered like a panic state. I went on YouTube and there was nothing on my page, and I just panicked completely. Obviously, I appealed, because I was like, what is this? I have never scammed a single person in my life. I make not a cent on YouTube. Like, I have never had an ad. I have never tried to scam anyone. I've never promised anyone money. I just don't understand where it came from. And then they gave me my channel back, but it was like a whole process, and there were a bunch of like 40 or 50 of my videos had been removed for breaking those guidelines, and it was honestly such a mess. I had a complete mental breakdown over it. I'm still not quite over it. Just to know that at any moment the platform can take away years of work and content because of guidelines that I did not break was a little bit too much to bear. So that's why I did an update again yesterday. I was going to talk to you about the books that I was reading, which I will do now, but I was gone, completely gone. Mental health, plunging, panicking, crying, the whole works. In any case, you are watching this video, so we are back, but that was really scary, and that was really weird that they could just delete all the little progress I've made in the last 4 years, but all the hard work that I put into my videos. But yeah, we're back. So now let's talk about the final 2 books that I read. Let's discuss. So I have read The Little Prince. I finished this book a little bit ago because yesterday I did not feel like reading anymore, as you can probably imagine. I finished it now. I really enjoyed it. It's still, listen, it's a book that I remember reading. I remember discussing in like my primary school class, which is fun, like when you remember like kind of like your first book discussions, right? I like that. I kind of remembered the story, but at the same time, this really didn't mark my childhood like it did a lot of other people. I think it's very insightful. I think it's very cute. I think it talks about certain issues very well, especially like the grown-ups versus children thing. And it's a good reminder that we should all live our lives with a little bit more ease and not be so focused on certain things that don't really matter. But that being said, like, yeah, like this is not like a childhood favorite or anything. I had other books that had left a bigger impact on me, and because of that, it is a 4-star. But I'm very glad that I finally reread this book. I loved seeing all the little illustrations. I think they're so cute, and they remind me that, yeah, you don't have to be like amazing at drawing to make drawings that have impact. Not that this author wasn't good at drawing, like I'm not trying to say that, but it's very simplistic artwork, and it's a very big thing of like he knows that he doesn't draw very well, but they're still impactful. And I also love that reminder that, yeah, like art is what you make it and what you want it to be, and not the skill that you have. And the other book that I was going to read was Embers, which I read 50 pages of it yesterday. And guys, I am bored out of my mind. This usually doesn't really happen when I read classics. I don't have a lot of problem with classics. But this one, like, I don't know if it's a translation to Portuguese, but it is so boring. Like, so boring. I was falling asleep. I was yawning reading this book. So with that being said, I think I am going to DNF it. I can't read anymore. Nothing really interesting was happening. We have this old general who has this, used to have this friend, right? And we discussed a little bit of their childhood together, but they haven't seen each other in 40 years, I think. And so he's a very lonely person. He's very isolated. And then this friend comes to visit, and supposedly the general wants to kind of take revenge on him, but you don't quite understand it. I think it could be interesting, but I'm just not interested. Just thinking about this book makes me want to yawn and makes me want to fall asleep. So with that being said, we are DNFing the final book, and this is definitely going to be unhauled. And I'm going to order them in order of preference. I'm going to do that, and we're going to talk about it. So give me just 1 second to organize them. Okay, so here are the books in kind of order of enjoyment. We have a DNF, and then we have the 3-star range, I guess. We have Annihilation, which the more I think about it, the less I the less I kind of liked it. Then we have The Prince and Dressmaker. It was cute, but it's so forgettable. It really is so forgettable. Then we have Milk, Blood, Heat. I didn't like the majority of the stories, but I did really like the writing. Quinn, Zins, and Zilly. It was very different from what I expected, but it did make me reflect a little bit, and I think I enjoyed reading it. Then we have The Little Prince, and then we have Fina, which was definitely my favorite book out of the bunch. If I had to tell you right now, I would probably unhaul Embers, Annihilation. This isn't mine, so this is leaving anyway. And I think I might unhaul Milk, Blood, Heat. Maybe. I'm still considering it, but at least these 3 are gonna go. But yeah, we have gotten all of these books off of the TBR, which was honestly the main goal of this entire vlog. And I think it was successful due to that. That means that the final count for my TBR is currently 82 books. I think that I made a mistake because I didn't read one of the books, The Season of Shadow. And also, The Princess Dressmaker was not on my physical TBR because I don't own it. So I don't think I put it in there in my reading journal. But the final count that I have done following my trusty little tracker of my physical TBR is that we are currently on number 82. Which isn't bad. We knocked a lot of books off of the TBR in this video. And I think that the next episode that I'm going to be doing, I think we'll go back to picking a book at random and reading it off of my shelf. But I thought that this would be a fun challenge for the week. And I'm glad that it was so successful in terms of reading the books, not in terms of loving the books. With that being said, I hope that you did enjoy watching this vlog. Honestly, the things that happened yesterday about my channel really made me reflect on why I'm still making videos when I feel like so many people don't care. And I'm not trying to, I don't know, I'm not trying to make people care. It's just, I don't know, just left me with a lot of thoughts about my channel and what the hell I'm doing here. But I hope that if you are here, I hope that you did enjoy watching this video. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in my next video. I hope you have a nice day, and always remember that life is worth reading.